Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm David Vogel, Judge Executive. Happy to have you here today for our meeting on August 2nd, 2022. If you brought a cell phone with you today, we'd appreciate it if you'd turn it to off or vibrate. Now, if you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now our clerk, Denise Clark, will call the roll.
Magistrate Likens. Magistrate Tice. Magistrate Woosley.
Here.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins. Here. Magistrate Dye. Magistrate Logston. Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the fiscal court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
Are there any additions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now Denise will read the minutes from our meeting on July 19th.
County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Kevin Woosley, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hound, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, and Michael Logston. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to approve the agenda. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Logston and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the meeting minutes from June 21, 2022. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to approve the meeting minutes from June 29, 2022. Motion carried unanimously. During public comment, Jailer Mike Simpson said farewell before his retirement date of July 31, 2022. Judge Vogel thanked him for his 36 years of service to Oldham County Fiscal Court, including 29 years as jailer. President of Oldham Chamber and Economic Development, David Bazanis, presented information regarding a potential sports complex in Oldham County. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Hawkins to go forward with the process to obtain a request for qualifications for a sports complex study. Motion carried unanimously. Lloyd Parsons from the Sheriff's Office presented the Sheriff's 2021 tax settlement. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Dye to authorize Judge Vogel to sign the Sheriff's 2021 tax settlement. Motion carried unanimously. The following sealed bids were opened and read aloud for road salt, 2,800 tons. Cargill, no bid. Compass Minerals, $111.75. Maxi Salt, $104.95. Morton Salt, no bid. Bids were provided to the Road Department Superintendent for review and recommendation. The following sealed bids were opened and read aloud for stormwater drainage improvements, Goshen Hills Phase 2 and Lakeview Estates. All-terrain paving and construction, base bid amount $732,174. Base bid plus alternate one amount $745,794. Triumph Landscape Construction $792,812.24 and $802,812.24. The bids were provided to the county engineer for review and recommendation. Motion made by Magistrate Logston and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to pay the payables. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to approve the end of fiscal year 2022 fund transfers. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to authorize Judge Vogel to sign the Oldham Soccer Park lease agreement with the Oldham County Youth Soccer Association. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to authorize Judge Vogel to sign the Memorandum of Understanding for the soccer park and fields with the Oldham County Youth Soccer Association. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to authorize Judge Vogel to sign the agreement with KYTC for additional construction funds for the Buckner Connector project in the amount of $1,100,000. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Judge Vogel and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to enter into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.8101F, discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Hawkins and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to reconvene the open meeting. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to hire Justine Kincaid as Telecommunicator 1 at $18.40 an hour, effective 7/20/2022. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Hawkins and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to hire Tyler T.J. Miller as Building Monitor at Parks and Recreation at $10 an hour, effective 7/20/2022. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hawkins to renew School Resource Officer SOR contracts effective 8/1/2022 as submitted. Motion amended by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Likens to renew all School Resource Officer contracts effective 8/3/2022. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 5:10 p.m.
For the reading of our minutes from July 19th. Is there a motion to approve? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Time now for public comment, the time when anyone in the community can address the fiscal court who may have an issue or something they'd like to bring to the court's attention. Is there anyone here today who would like to address public comment? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment, but with my own comment, and that is that I heard a rumor in the hall that today is Steve Greenwell's birthday. Is that correct?
That is incorrect.
Oh, really?
Yesterday.
It was yesterday. All right. Well, I've been known to be a step slow at times, so well, happy birthday yesterday.
Thank you.
We had a nice day. So. All right, time now. We'll go on now to our first opening here, and our first item. We have a budget presentation from the Peewee Valley Fire Protection District. Chairman Joe Burkhart is here with us, along with new Chief Matt York, and happy to have both of you here today.
Get started with numbers, I would like to introduce the Chief. About this time a year ago, Bob Hamilton, who has been chief for over 20 years, that he was thinking about retirement, and I said,
Hang on a second, Joe. Your mic not be on. Might not be on. All right. You
carry on? Okay.
want to go back and repeat that you're introducing?
I'm introducing our new chief, Matt York, but he replaces Bob Hamilton, who was a chief at Peewee Valley for over 20 years, and he announced about a year ago that he was thinking about retirement. So both Bob and Carrie Herzl, who was our deputy, both retired from their command positions. They both remain in the department. Bob is major, Carrie is captain. They're very active, and they continue their activity there, and we're quite pleased with that. Matt comes to us 15 years plus with the department. He started out as an explorer. He's a businessman in Crestwood. He owns Detail Expressions in Crestwood. And then we were able to find a deputy hanging around, and that fellow by the name of Chris Hounds. I think you might all have run across him from time to time. So we're quite pleased that we had people within the department and continue on with the consistency of command, and we believe we're making progress. Our tax rate remains at 10 cents per hundred of valuation on real personal properties, motor vehicles, and watercraft. And the SPGE budget summary, which I believe was distributed to you all, shows a revenues for this coming fiscal year at 636 plus $1,000. That compares to last year, which was $599, so we've had an increase. The carryover, sometime considered reserves, is a bit over $1 million. That is offset by our debt service, which is a bit over $700,000. That's two pieces. That's a building number 2 that we constructed and opened in 2014, and an engine that we're paying down. We also had some capital expenses in 2022 that we have moved to 2023, just to allow our new command the opportunity to make adjustments if they thought appropriate, and to be heavily involved in it. We continue with we introduced 25 years ago a 10-year forecast, and it's been very helpful in our financial activities in projecting our needs. As you are all aware, fire departments have big ticket items that come from time to time, and if you don't budget them out, in our case, if we don't predict them, then we're not going to be in a financial position to make those acquisitions. And we do like to reduce the interest rates and have a debt service that is reasonable, and so we try to make as significant a down payment as possible. And we have an engine coming up in 4 or 5 years that we're expecting is going to be close to $1 million. So that's the name of the game that we're trying to play now. Finally, we have completed the audit for the past year, and again, both our financial and internal controls have a clean opinion, and we've been in that situation for a number of years, and we're quite proud of that fact. So that is about all I have to say regarding Peewee Valley Fire District.
All right, great. Perhaps Chief York, do you have, this is your first time before fiscal court, so you probably didn't come prepared to make a speech, but we're happy to offer any remarks you'd like.
The only thing I'll say is I'll pass my contact information on to Deputy Chief Hounds or Magistrate Hounds, and he can forward it to fiscal court. If you all need anything from the fire department, don't hesitate to ask.
Right, right. Well, we've always had a great relationship with the Peewee Valley Fire Department as the people of the community. And are there any magistrates who would like to ask any questions or get any information about anything? Are you doing okay on volunteers?
We're getting ready to do a countywide recruitment campaign.
All right, right. I know we a lot of places are having problems getting people, and I didn't know how the fire service was, holding up under that.
One of the things that happened within our department over the past years, as with any total volunteer organization, there are a number of people who like to be involved in the fire department, and they may not be pulling their weight. And we reviewed all of our members and talked to them individually, and probably 2 or 3 years ago we were numbering someplace around 40 or 42 members. We're probably down into the low 30s now, but we have a very active group, and they're all involved in from everything from physicals to training.
Right. Well, a dedicated crew is much more efficient and valuable than a large crew that has people that are just not as active as you'd like. So, well, thank you very much. Appreciate your participation and presentation here today. Thank you, Joe. I think we need to congratulate the Magistrate Hounds. He's been elected deputy chief. I think he kept his light under a bushel basket here and didn't really tell us, or he at least hadn't told me, so congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I know you've been there a long time as well. How many years have you been with Peewee Valley?
This is my 31st year.
31st year, wow. Well, that you started when you were 10, and now you're, go with that, a little explorer, okay. Great. Well, congratulations, Chris, to you. We have a bid openings now, and the first one we have is for the proposed animal control building construction. Melissa Horn has our bid packages that have come in, and we'll receive them now and see what we have. I might add, while they're being opened, we did have one of our animal control officers retired at the end of last week, Tommy Smith. We wish Tommy the absolute best. Thank him for his 26 years, I believe, of service to Oldham County. And we certainly hope he has an enjoyable retirement. All right, I'm going to have a look at these carefully here and see exactly what we have here. We have this one is these bids are for various parts of this project, so I want to make sure I know what. All right, concrete bid from East and Westbrook Construction, and let's see, it's $338,334. $338, $334. All right, thank you. Put this one here about. We know this. All right, electrical work for the building. Mars Electric, $298,700. That one say? Okay. Here's a second electrical bid. This one from Johnson Group of Louisville, $334,940. Right. Next package is our plumbing, New Century Plumbing, $572,500. Heating and cooling, all right, mechanical. This is from Thompson Heating and Cooling, $361,216. Second, the mechanical bid from Legacy Heating and Air Conditioning of Mount Washington, $469,700. There's a third mechanical bid. This one from Ebra Comfel. I believe that's an Encore company. And looking for a number on here. $443,950. All right, this package is general trades, and this is from W.R. Cole and Associates of Louisville, $89,900. Masonry work from Central Construction, $572,000 even. $572,000. I'm sorry. Central Construction. Painting, Chambers Painting of Sellersburg, $69,840. A second painting bid, and this is from Jennings Enterprises of Jeffersontown, $77,394. This is for millwork, U.S. Specialties, $43,294. What's that? All right, this is for doors, springs, and hardware. Klein Brothers Lock and Safe, $84,415.20. All right, that is it. And we thank those bidders. There may be, John, did we have everything except the building? Site work, all right. Pardon? All right. So that's most of the project, but not the entire project. There's the building itself, and the site work. We don't have the numbers on yet. All right, now we're going to move on to a second bid opening. This is for the Spring Hill Trace Sidewalk Construction Project. And this is from XL Excavating. $467,827.
I'm sorry, Judge, one more time.
$467,827. They're all copies. One bidder on that? Okay. One bidder on that. That is a federal project, correct? Right, that's a federal project. All right, thank you. Those are our bid openings for today. Next item on the agenda is county administration, and that involves paying our bills for the past 2 weeks. When the court is ready, we'll accept a motion to pay the bills.
Moved. Second.
Any questions on anything in the accounts payable? Hearing nothing, all in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Community business, item B here, golf cart ordinance, magistrate hounds.
Yes, sir. Before the court, you have first reading of the golf court ordinance, which is going to be repeal and replace of the current golf cart ordinance. So today's just the first reading, and we'll have the second reading in 30 days.
All right, and this will be posted on the website here, and basically what we're dealing with here, our county website, is a number of people have asked to be able to drive golf carts on public streets in Oldham County. This ordinance addresses the use of those carts on all public streets, all county-owned streets, that is, in Oldham County. So there's a number of requirements within the ordinance, and you're invited to look at the website and read those in detail. All right, now we're on the committee recommendations and reports. Take-home police vehicle policy, Magistrate Hounds.
Yes, sir, Judge. This was brought before the Public Safety Committee today to allow officers that live outside of the county boundaries to take their assigned patrol car home with them. We talked about a couple of different things, but I think where we landed was that we would allow the officers to take their cars home in the KIPTA region, which I was trying to get clarification on that, but it looks like it is Jefferson, Bullitt, obviously Oldham, Clark, Floyd, Shelby, Spencer, Henry, and Trimble counties.
Correct. Right, that's the metropolitan area.
Yeah. They can take them across the river to Floyd and Clark, but then the contiguous counties to Oldham on the Kentucky side of the river.
Right.
Did that include Spencer? Did I hear?
Yes.
Okay.
This ordinance has policy, that is, it has a certain restrictions for the police officers that take advantage of this program. Officers are on, can only drive the car directly from the home to the county line. Once they reach Oldham County line, they are on duty at that moment. If they happen to encounter something that would require police services on their way to work, or on their way home. They are required to stop and help if that's what, if it's an emergency, and that's what an officer would do. Officers are not allowed to carry their family members in the police car. Officers on light duty, administrative duty, or under, a supervision for an extra reason of some sort are not authorized to operate a vehicle without permission from the chief. Of course, officers living in Oldham County are able to take their vehicles home now. We think this is a good policy. The time has come for this policy. It's very valuable to our employees who are officers to be able to have their vehicles with them at all times when they're in the county or coming or going from the county, and we expect it to be a valuable benefit to them and to help us in maintaining our force. There are competitive issues involved here where other jurisdictions are providing this type of service to their officers as well. I think we're all well aware of the fact that there are fewer people entering police work today than there were 2 or 3 years ago, based on the climate that has arisen in some parts of the country. We value our officers, and we certainly want them to stay with us and not be pulled away by a competitive policy of this nature. And so it also gives us a little publicity. Our county is seen out there, and people know that we're providing good service, that we have officers in Oldham County. So I certainly support the application of this policy to our officers, and I thank Chief Smith for helping develop it. Are you making a recommendation that we go forward with this?
My recommendation would be that we allow the officers that live in the KIPTA region to take their county-owned police cars home when permitted.
Is there a second? All right. Discussion on this? Manager Greenwell?
Thank you, Judge. I sat in on that committee meeting and I didn't express my viewpoints, but at the beginning of the meeting, of that discussion, we first started out talking about letting officers pay a certain amount for their privilege, and we quickly morphed into it being just a free thing. So I'd like to know why it changed from one to the other, I guess, because I think it was an incremental thing. If they lived 0 to 10 miles, they paid some amount, and 10 to 20, and then 20 to 30, and that started out being the recommendation, and it ended up not being. So I just was confused about that.
Well, that was the original proposal, that we do perhaps charge a nominal amount depending on how far out from the county you were, assuming no further up to 30 miles. But the Public Safety Committee suggestion was made that we not charge, and we just do away with that. And the vote was taken by the Public Safety Committee to do away with that suggestion. And so what we brought forward here is a recommendation of the Public Safety Committee.
Okay.
Measure Howns.
Mr. Greenwell, I mean, I understand the reason to do a nominal fee, and I like the nominal fee, but I also don't want to put any more work on other people to track it and to maintain it. And I guess I look at the cost that we're talking about. It's going to be a little bit of cost to the county every month, or every gas fill up, however you want to look at it, which is probably daily when they're on shift. But we know that we're not as competitive as we used to be with hiring laterals and hiring recruits. And I don't think this is going to fix the problem, but if it helps, I mean, I believe now we're several officers down. I don't want to quote a number because I'll be wrong, and I don't know if this is going to bring, a ton of people to come back, but we got to stop the bleeding somehow. And I don't want to put the undue strain of keeping track of it, and I don't know, it just seems like a somewhat of a nightmare with accounting wise to deal with. I don't think the money is going to outweigh the benefit, if that makes sense.
I would like to point out that the judge in his opening comments made the comment that, you know, the climate in some communities is not pro-police right now. Well, in Oldham County, it still is pro-police. We believe in our police departments, and I think this is a good place to work. And I mean, if you compare us to other communities very near to us, there's no competition. We're the place to work, and you know, very near to us is not a good place to work. So I think we already have our advantages. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
I think part of what we're getting beat out on is the dollars and cents, and that's a shame. But if it means people putting food on the table or paying expenses or whatever, I mean, that's where people are going. And it's not just Oldham County Police Department. It's happening in other places where people are leaving for a couple bucks on the hour, $1 on the hour. You know, $1 on the hour on 2,000 hours worked a year, 2,080 worked a year. Do the math. I mean, that could be significant money. I understand where you are, and it's difficult to be in the middle.
Chief, would you like to address the hiring climate right now and the I hate to put police in a competitive mode, but we have J-Town, we have St. Matthews, other communities in the area here where the pool of people in the police services is not growing as rapidly as it might be shrinking. And so what is your observation on where we are with this?
I can tell you when I first applied for the police department several years ago, there was hundreds of people that applied. I mean, we took it down at U of L, they filled an auditorium full, there was a room next door they filled up, another one they filled up. There were 600-700 people took that test. The last application that we put out for Oldham County, we had 40 people applied. Out of that 40, 10 showed up, 10. We currently have 5 vacancies. We cannot maintain the police department at that current rate. We currently have 5 vacancies. One's because of military leave, the other 4 are just clear vacancies. You know, we're struggling. We're not the only ones struggling. A lot of police agencies are struggling. I guess it's just the climate of the times that's doing that. But nonetheless, we have to supply police services to this county. And if we can't offer a competitive employment package, then we're going to constantly rely on recruits. And it takes about a year from the time we hire a recruit to they're riding solo that they actually fill a vacancy. We have to do better than that. And that's why I think this benefit of having a take-home car broadens our ability to go a little bit farther out to attract laterals. 12-hour shifts help tremendously. We had $58,000 for a base pay for a 5-year officer. When you add the 12-hour shifts in there with the 8-hour schedule overtime, we jumped to 64. That was a good increase, and that attracted some people, plus the 12-hour shifts attracted people. But it's very competitive, and it's a tough market right now. A lot of younger officers, when they apply for police agencies, they're on a different pension than I was under. I'm on a 20-year and out, which is a great pension. They're now under a 401k, so their upfront money that they can earn is more important to them than the tenure that they're going to serve as a police agency. Because they're looking at, well, if this agency A pays this amount of money, but agency B pays this amount of money, this is going to benefit my pension more. So that's why they're jumping around a lot. We've had that happen to us. So without increasing salaries, if we can increase other benefits, I think we become more attractive. Master Greener, I agree. I've worked in Louisville for 27 years. I'd much rather work in Oldham County than work down west in Louisville again. We do have a lot to benefit. We don't have near the violent crime. We don't have near a lot of the other issues that major cities bring. But nonetheless, we still are competing in a very competitive field right now for hiring police officers.
Would you like to address how the 4 vacancies we have came about?
We have Major Johnson, who retired, never filled that position. We filled it through a promotion, but we didn't fill the one that trickled down. We had 2 officers that we hired that left within a year. One went back to Louisville, the other one got out of law enforcement altogether. We have the new detective in the budget this year that we have not been able to hire because we can't find somebody. And then we have an officer who's called for military leave that we understand may not be coming back. In addition to that, we are aware of 3 other officers that applied to other agencies. It's based upon money. Yeah.
And after we find out about somebody's interested in something else, then we try to start talking about them being interested in something else, and we had some success, but not entirely.
We've had some success, and I won't deny that there's 1 or 2 officers talking about some internal changes. Maybe it's opening in the sheriff's office, and that suits better for them and their family life. I understand that. I mean, that's the right reason why you want to move, is just if it's better for your family life. But that's going to create vacancies for us as well. So I think this helps. This helps. It makes us more competitive, makes us more attractive.
Right, and this is just like a salary increase, but without the deductions and without the match that we would normally put in on a salary.
We tailored the policy to the degree that it is a transportation only from the police agency to their home, back to the police agency, and we tailored it that way. This policy, like any other policy, if there's a violation of it, then there's repercussions for that violation. But I think it will help us in the long run. I do think it will help us.
Okay, Magistrate Hawkins.
Chief, in here it said excluding normal work-related duties, and then it goes on to if an officer operating a vehicle outside of Oldham County is in a situation where they're required to render aid, and then it goes into all that. Excluding normal work-related duties, other than those special circumstances, is that supposed to mean that it's just to Oldham County from their home and then back to their home?
Yeah, what we put in there, why we put that one sentence in there about stopping to help somebody, if one of our cars is driving through Louisville, there's an accident, and there needs some immediately help at that accident, we're trained, we should stop and help. Okay. And that's why we put that in there. We don't want them to drive by in a marked police car without helping somebody.
Okay.
All on us.
And then, in that special circumstance, normal work-related duties, the officer should assume that means going home and coming back.
Home and regular duties is patrol duties when they are on duty at work.
And then the judge mentioned you're not supposed to have family members in your car. Does that include when you're driving around within the county as well?
County, we allow them to do it, but quite frankly, very few officers do. If you ever seen the inside of a modern-day police car, there's not a lot of room for people. And in the back, we buy a very good seat in the back that is easy to take a prisoner in and out. It's not really made for families. Unless you have a family member and you want to put it back there.
So it would not be allowed to go through carpool in Spencer County with your Oldham County police car, correct?
Would not be allowed to do that.
And then Indiana's outside KIPTA, so
It's not.
is within KIPTA. Okay. So then who would pay the tolls? Would that be on the county?
If it's on a marked unit, there is no toll.
Okay.
Unmarked unit, there is a transponder you can buy for that unit. We have them on all of our cars. The county pays for that. I mean, if it was a favor of the court to make the officer pay for that, I think that's fair.
Manager Woosley.
Chief, I mentioned one of the things that we were talked about in the Public Service Committee that was the benefit for the county that I think really needs to be touched on, and that's the fact that these units are available as soon as they hit the county line if they have their vehicle with them. Before, they'd have to drive to either the Peewee Valley or the South Oldham station or to the police department to get their vehicle. So now they are available as soon as they hit the county line. And the second thing is this brings the county police policy more in line with the sheriff's office, which now has availability for take-home cars outside the county. So kind of brings it more in line with what they're doing too. So.
Magistrate Tice.
Yes, Magistrate Woosley, does our sheriff's department right now allow for police cars in Oldham County to be taken home outside the county?
Yes, that's what we were told today. Is that right? You were there? Yes.
Just as one, I'm a little shocked because I thought the standard policy with police officers, whether they are county officers or sheriffs, would be the same. So I'm a little surprised at that. Having said that, the only other thing that I'm thinking is that we're accommodating officers that don't live in the county, and they're getting a plus. And what are we doing with the officers that live in Oldham County to compensate for that?
Well, actually, it would be nothing. It's just a take-home car policy. But regardless of where the residence is, it's the same policy for every officer across the board. Whether one drives 5 miles or one drives 15 miles, it's the same benefit other than mileage.
Would be you can drive your police car in Oldham County through carpool. Park.
Do what, please? Say that. I didn't hear that. Excuse me.
You can drive with your family in your car in Oldham County if you live in Oldham County, from what it sounds like.
We're not opposed to that either. You take, Little League baseball, football leagues, even down to high school, when you might go watch your kid play sports or attend something. It's good to have a marked unit there. I mean, it really is good to have a marked unit there. If, in fact, they run down the hardware store by themselves and just pick up something and come back. We don't want a 2x4 sticking out of the window, but if they run down, just get something quick and come back, I mean, the visibility of that extra police car helps. It just helps. And while the policy states clearly why they are in that car, if something comes up, they are to respond to it. Now, if they got a family member with them, we prefer they don't respond to it. They might just do some surveillance for us, let us know what's going on if it's that critical. But it still gives a greater police presence than what we actually have working. And I can tell you many times off-duty officers will stop and help. They will.
Any off-duty officers do what, please?
We'll stop and assist an on-duty officer. Yeah, many times they will.
Well, somebody at Magistrate Logston.
I don't know if there's any SROs. Take care of them also.
SROs live within the county. No, I take that back. The one does not, that's Matt Lay. He lives about 5-6 miles down the road. And under this policy, he'd be able to take his car home.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion on this?
Well, thanks.
Sure.
We are not asking for additional funds to support this. It will cause a slight increase in our gas consumption. We will cover that cost within our current budget.
All right. Motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 8-1. Thank you. Next item here has to do with bid awards for the Goshen Hills Phase 2 and Lakeville Estates Drainage and Improvement Project. Mr. Solomon.
You were provided several weeks ago, and I believe also with your packet, the bid tabulation from the Goshen Hills Phase 2 and Lakeview Estates Drainage Project, bids that were opened at the last fiscal court meeting. I'm asking that you, the fiscal court, recommend or award this project to the low responsible bidder, all-terrain paving and construction. The amount of, bear with me.
I would like to find out what alternate one is.
Alternate one were a few items within phase 1 of construction that was completed about 2 years ago. That we one was a gap in the concrete channel that was left out because there was I believe it was a Spectrum utility cable that couldn't be moved at the time, so we had to just move on. It was left as a riprap section. So now that utility has been taken out, we can have our contractor go in and fill that, say, 10-foot gap as needed. Some of the other items were, there were a couple inlets we'd like to place along Spring Meadow Drive to receive some additional stormwater that's on the roadside ditch and drop it into the system that was constructed. So there are just a few things we've observed in phase 1 that we wanted to add on.
recommending we take alternate one.
Sir, yes, I'm recommending the base bid plus alternate one.
Believe this is within the budget that has been set up for this.
Right, so this was approved in the amount of $800,000 through the Stormwater District Board. The intent is to reimburse Fiscal Court through Stormwater Board.
Judge, I'd like to make the motion that we accept all terrain and pavings construction bid for the Goshen Hills Phase 2 drainage improvements.
And are you asking for alternate, the base bid plus alternate one?
Alternate for the amount of $745,794.
For a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this item. As you die.
Jim, I just got a question. Every time I see these lists on these, I look at all the different parts and pieces that you're putting in. My question is I see where you're taking a sanitary sewer out and put some storm sewers out. All of this work is being done. Is this because it was designed poorly or poorly maintained? I know that's a tough question for you to make, but I'm answering.
This subdivision is one of the much older subdivisions in the county. It receives a significant amount of stormwater from an adjacent farm, and I don't think that it was designed originally to take the amount of water that it receives.
That before that we had some sort of stormwater rules, or, I mean,
I suspect it was before we had the ordinances, yes, that require the detention and design to certain storm events and consideration for off-site runoff.
thank you.
Magistrate Likens.
Mr. Dye, this is the stormwater is funded from the stormwater drainage fee that we collect. Now that Veolia doesn't do that anymore, we collect that as a county. So that's what this money is coming out of, the stormwater fee.
Doesn't answer the question of why is all this work need to be done. Was it poorly designed or poorly maintained? That's what I asked.
It was never designed. It's always been an issue. Then now we're able to take care of that problem.
Okay.
I would say that area, I don't know how far back this goes, but it probably, would you say 30 years or more?
I think the record plat might have been in the 60s or 70s. I'd have to check.
It's way back there. You know, the developer built an area where, there was concern, I think, at the time. But as far as I've been told.
Be a little clearer. I'm not trying to indict anybody here. I just want to know. I don't know anything about this subdivision. I don't know if it's 10 days old or 10 millenniums old. All I know is I'm just trying to figure out, just
why it's like it is.
I mean, don't everybody get all tore up?
Does not appear to have been designed to accommodate the runoff that it receives.
All I wanted to know.
And it might have been anticipated that the farm next door would be sold over the next 50 years, but it's still a farm. So that probably has kept the water coming that someone might have thought was going to not be there. I don't know. Who knows? We're just guessing. Magistrate Hounds.
This project is phase 2. We completed phase 1, and we've been dealing with this project for how long? You don't have to answer the question because time is a good number.
Initiated prior to my starting work here, yes.
But with this project, we're going to deplete the funds that are in the stormwater.
I believe Stan Clark could give you the exact number, but I think there's $1 million left, but there's well more projects available for other stormwater considerations.
That's 2 major projects that we've done in one part of the county. So everybody's aware, and Mr. Silman made the comment, there are a lot of other projects needed to be completed, and thank goodness we're getting this one done, but this does not, there are still probably other projects in this part of the county that could be dealt with as well as other parts of the county that have projects as big or bigger than this one. Come.
Anyone else? All right, we've got a motion and a second on this. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item has to do with a bid award for the Buckner Connector project, and Linda Demas will lead the court through that discussion.
Good afternoon. This is the bid award to Louisville Paving, the low bidder, for construction of the Buckner Connector project in the amount of $3,150,000.
All right. Is there a motion that we go forward with this bid?
Make that motion. Second.
Okay, we've got a motion there. We have a second. All right. Is there any discussion on this? Yes, go ahead.
When do they plan on completion?
We have it as April 30th as the completion date of next year.
Next year? Okay.
Is that a question or a comment?
I said, okay, I agree. That's,
Sounded like you didn't it's either disappointing or too soon. I couldn't tell.
it took all these many years to get an 8-month project lined up. I just don't understand that.
Well,
On the day, looks like we're building a bridge across the river.
Didn't build any roads around here.
okay, I think we've got a motion and a second. Did we have a vote on it yet? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, now we're down to the inspection services with AECOM for this project. Linda Demas.
Agreement with AECOM for construction inspection services for the Buckner Connector project, not to exceed $200,380. The cost of the agreement will be paid out of the previously approved construction funds for the project, and we're asking Fiscal Court to allow Judge Vogel to sign the agreement.
Make that motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this inspection project or contract? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we've got a bid award for salt. Ben Kimbler, is he here today, or? Yes, sir. Magistrate Greenwell?
Road Committee Ben asked if I would handle this because he had to be away. We opened these bids on 7/19. The low bid was Maxi Salt at $104.95. It was a good bid in more ways than one. And so it is our recommendation to accept that bid.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Do we accept a bid from Maxi Salt for $104.95 per ton? Any discussion? Pardon?
Delivered.
Delivered. Okay, thank you. Magistrate Hounds.
Ask, didn't we pay like $70 or $80 a couple of years ago? Was that delivered too?
It's all delivered. The price is included. And I can't remember 2 years ago. Probably not 2 weeks ago, but not 2 years ago.
I think your point's there that we used to pay less, but now we're paying more. So I mean, more money to get it here.
I guess that's true too. Diesel fuel hasn't gone down.
We could have participated in the CAECO reverse auction and paid $147 a ton, but we chose not to do that.
Good deal.
That was good. Good move. All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We're on to personnel departments now, and Ms. Shaw, are you here? Yeah, you are. And way in the back, so.
And we have a police department and dispatch items to take care of today. We have a new hire at the police department coming to us from the Lexington Police Department as a 5-year lateral. His name is Colin Megger. It's a 5-year lateral, as I said, at $26.06. That's his base hourly rate, and that's effective on the 29th of this month.
All right, motion to hire Colin Maher.
Second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries. Thank you.
Contract employee Joe Dennis as a school resource officer and patrol officer as needed. And that would be effective tomorrow, and the contract, you all should have that.
Judge, I'd like to make that motion.
Any discussion? Magistrate Likens?
Is rate the same as the others that do the same job?
The SROs.
Right, but Joe is going to be used as needed. Right, so he's a backup personnel. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I think so. Motion carries. Now we had a retirement. I mentioned earlier, Tommy Smith, after 24 years, has left. No actions needed there, but we congratulate Tommy very much. And in planning and development services, I know I'm stealing your thunder here, Melissa. Amy gave us her resignation. So we reluctantly accepted it, but we congratulate her on her new position as county clerk. So, and she's promised to stay with us a little bit till we can fill that position and keep helping the department run. So that's double duty for Amy here. Okay, so thank you for that. And dispatch, we've got to change the status here. Larry DJ Herod has shifted to part-time, effective tomorrow. Correct? All right. Okay, thank you. All right.
Excuse me.
Pardon me?
Make us short now in dispatch even more, so, okay.
Utilizing the part-timers, we have 4 part-timers where we are using. So, but we are also interviewing right now. It's just going to take a bit to get back there. And that's effective. So we'll need a motion on him to go part-time. We'll need a motion on him to go.
Motion? Okay, I'm sorry.
Second.
Favor, please say aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're on to board appointments here. The first appointment I'd like to recommend is Charlie Ward III, CPA here, to fulfill the unexpired term of Mike Riley on the Board of Adjustments. This would be until January 1st of the next year, and we'd probably come back with this again, I assume. And Mike is Riley's done a great job for us, but just at this point needs to, maintain some attention to his health, and so he's doing that. And I'd like to appoint Charlie Ward. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion here? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. The next person I'd like to appoint to the South Oldham Fire Protection District Board for a term that would go until June 30th of next year. This is fulfilling the property owner position. Jason Greer retired from that position. I'd like to appoint J.D. Sparks to it. J.D., many of you know him, lives out in Kentucky Acres, and I think he'll make a good district board member. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, this would be to the Oldham County Planning and Zoning Commission. We have a reappointment of Tom Elder. Tom has served one term on the board. Has been a good participating member. He's at every meeting, and I believe he represents the mainstream thought in Oldham County. So I'd like to, I'll make the motion to reappoint him. All right. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Library Board, I'd like to make the appointment of Michael Plumley to a term to go to October 1st, 2023. Michael would be fulfilling the unexpired term of David Hutchinson, who passed away earlier this year. Mr. Plumley is an attorney in the Kentucky Attorney General's office, and I believe that he would make a good library board member, so I'll make that recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Thank you. Now, final one, this would be to the Westport Fire Department Board. I'd like to appoint Ryan Steele for a term to expire June 30th, 2024. Ryan would be fulfilling the unexpired term of Joe Ender. If you recall, we appointed Joe Ender a month or two ago to the Oldham County Planning Commission. So Joe moved to that position, and we needed a person in Westport. Ryan is a good guy, a very good businessman, owns a CNS machine tool in Louisville, and very interested and active in Westport affairs. So I'd like to appoint Ryan, and I'll make that recommendation. All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
And I have one more here that, did we miss it?
There's three we missed.
Okay. Three, right?
Oldham,
Iva Davis.
Okay.
enforcement name.
Oh, there. They were, okay. Here we go. North Oldham Fire Protection District Board like to appoint Mike Adams to a term that would go on to 6/30/23. Mike is a fireman there. He's been fulfilling the unexpired term of another fire representative, Brad Conrad, who has a step down. So I'll make them a recommendation to appoint Mike Adams.
Second.
In discussion, all in favor, please say aye. All right, and now we have to the Oldham County Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to reappoint Iva Davis. Everybody here probably knows Iva. To a term that would go on to 8/21/26. I was, of course, former magistrate and well acquainted with everything about planning in Oldham County. So I'd like to make that appointment. Is there a second? All right, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. And finally, now I'd like to appoint Clayton Raymer to a position on the Code Enforcement Board. If you recall, a couple of months ago, we appointed Charles Turner from the Code Board to the Board of Adjustments. I'd like to appoint Clayton to take Charles' turn for the balance of his term on the Code Enforcement Board. That would go on until October 2nd, 2024. I'll make that recommendation. Is there a second? Second, all right. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're on to the next item on the agenda here, and I'm going to turn this over to Magistrate Tice, who would like to lead a discussion on Westport Park.
Thank you, Judge. After a couple of months previously, we accepted the Tetra Tech project and proposal for Westport, and what we thought would be a good conceptual to go forward. But at this point, what I wanted to do is have a general discussion with all the magistrates, that we would understand what everybody's thinking and how we might want to go forward, the amounts of money that we might be willing to put into the Westport Park, and steps of what areas are better to start with or not start with. There's one statement, and I've been giving this a lot of thought over the last couple of months, and there was one statement that was made to me which I took wholeheartedly, and it made a lot of sense. Whatever we decide to do or not do in Westport, at whatever level, we need to make sure that we're able to maintain it and keep it in an acceptable level for all of us in Oldham County. This becomes a statement because we're not just doing or building a passive park where people are going to be. We've got Mother Nature out there. So whatever we decide to do, we need to be able, from what I heard, and I agreed wholeheartedly, that we need to be able to keep it at a level that was acceptable to not only our community, but everybody. So as we had that discussion, or this discussion, I'd like to at least place that in the back of all of our minds. I've asked Magistrate Hounds to do a couple of, what are we going to call those, Chris? A couple of pictures, attachments that we can put up on the screen so everybody can see. It'll be on our monitors. One of them, which we're looking at right now, is this is off of Google Earth, if I'm correct, and this shows what the park looks like today. And then we've got a couple of pictures of that. That is one thing. The other one is that if you can, Gary, and go forward to there. The other one shows the park, and as we go through the caption on this attachment, we'll see the picture of the whole park. We'll see the pricing that was presented to us and this was not fixed pricing. These are estimates of doing it very well. So the prices you have to see, we would have to get bid and go forward with there. This is the whole park as what we accepted as the final proposal, Plan B. And then we have pricing for each one of the areas in the park. As we talk, if the magistrates would, we had the park broken down into 3 areas. One is what I would call the waterfront, which includes the parking lot in the center. So as you're making comments or as we're talking, everybody will know what we're talking about. So that is what we'll call Part 1. In Phase 2, or area, let's say Area 2, will be what I would call the downstream to the right, which if you look at it on our picture there, that will be the upper right. And then Phase 3, or Area 3, will be the area with the green, with the grass on the upper left, which is upstream. So that way, as we talk and discuss this, then just as you start, say this so we all know where it is. And I assume, Gary, you're okay with being able to flick that through that so we can cover the areas. Thank you very much. At that point, that's all I've got to say. Let's hear some feedback from the other magistrates or where we are, or where we want to be.
Go to document 3, the far left. First PDF on the. So, just a little bit more background. These pictures are I think it's this one or the next one, they're only months old. In other words, these are not old. These are not outdated pictures from Google Earth. If you go to the next, go down a page, stay on that same one. Go down a page. One more. I'm sorry, there must be at the top. One more up. So this is a picture using our GIS, so you can see where the streets and everything are. It gives you a little bit more depiction, and because I had to blow it up, that's why it gets all pixelated like this. But those pictures will give you some idea of what real to life is with the park.
I went to the park this morning and walked around for about a half an hour and took a few pictures on my cell phone. And when we're talking about Mother Nature, all of the driftwood and everything that comes down the river, and as you look at this photo we're seeing here, at the most downstream area, right in the river's bank, there's a lot of wood and debris that has come down there. Now, that's ongoing. Every time we have a major rain, we can clean it out one month, get a major rain the next month, and we're going to get more driftwood the way it works out there. There's also on that wall, which is, I'll call, there is a riffraff wall built there that gathers all of that and keeps it from going downstream. This is a maintenance. I'm going to call this a maintenance. And as I was looking at everything from the parking lot down towards the river, and in the picture we're looking to, that's towards the left to where our boat docks are. We've got that mowed well, but there's a lot of work that still needs to be done there. One of the things that I was thinking about is that I'm not sure our maintenance department, parks department, road department, or anybody has got the ability to keep this clean. My thought was that if we could go in there, and I'm even going to make this a proposal, that if we go in there now and decide what we need to clean out, haul out, and contract that out with either a tree service or a lawn mowing and tree service. And at one point, right now, to go in there and just pull everything out of there, grind it up, and just get rid of it. And I'm talking about everything from the parking lot to the river's bank. And I'm also talking about everything which goes in a downstream until you get to that riffraff stone wall. Now, there's not everything you'd want to take down. You'd want to leave some trees. But there's overgrown vegetation. There's just everything in there is just overgrown. And to me, it can't even be used by us right now. And I'm saying that what I'm thinking we need to do is just get all of that cleaned out for one time, and then we can look at it. I don't think that is putting something stationary in the park like a playground or a pavilion or anything. I think that's something we just need to do today to get the park to where it looks decent. And if you look at the screen that's on, or the picture that's on the screen right now, as you look at our parking lot and how it rounds and comes back up Washington Street, you see a little square there of white, and that happens to be the basketball court. And I know most of you guys know that. But you can't use that basketball court because trees and everything are just hanging over. The rim's there, the backboard's nice, and there's nets even there. I didn't expect to see the net, to be quite honest. But everything's there. But sure, Gary puts it up. Excuse me. But anyway, that needs to be cleaned out and made to look, to me, more presentable. I mean, the drainage ditches, the trash and everything that's there is just, I think we need to have a major clean out in there. And I think we need to have that done by a professional service that will take down some of the trash trees and stuff and just thin that out and then have that area.
I'm not trying to, no, you're going off in one direction. We're here to talk about it in this direction. I don't want to get, we could have a conversation about cleaning up the current status of the park for the next hour, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Oh, far in. I don't want to talk. I'm just waiting for somebody to jump in, so I'm waiting on you.
Well, I'll jump in. You brought out a statement earlier about we need to maintain what we do. I think you just expressed in the last 5 minutes exactly what we're not doing. We're not maintaining what's there now. Well, I think adding more to take care of makes the problem that much worse. I mean, you're talking about hiring a professional company to come in and do the cleanup, of which probably should have already been done, but there's a lot of reasons why it probably hasn't. I'm not going to judge anyone or what their value system is, but I think you're talking yourself into hiring a professional service to take care of that park. And this being right on the river's edge, I think we can look at any news report or any newspaper or anything on the internet regarding Eastern Kentucky. I think we figured out what being right on the river's edge gets you. So, I mean, you don't have to poke me in the eye with a hot stick to make me understand that there's some things that can be done down here, but I believe at a level because it's just too many. You can put park equipment here in Westport, and when a flood hits, you can play on that same equipment down in West Point. Okay, that's how far away it'll be. Might catch on something at captain's quarters, but I mean, you've already made your case.
Oh no! In your opinion, just maintain the grass, keep it mowed, and keep all that maintained, and not try to put any pavilion or anything there.
There's places that you could put high enough off the water line where you could protect it long term, but anything below the flood line, and I'm not a person that knows anything about rivers, but I know what I can look at what the flood in Eastern Kentucky did, just a matter of hours. And those weren't rivers that came through those towns. They called them streams. Okay? One of them was called Troublesome Stream. Well, I think I wouldn't want to build a house on Troublesome Stream. I think there's things that can be done here, but it's a lot of stuff to keep putting back. Really all I got to say about it.
Can you put that picture up there?
A couple of comments. First off, I think that what we got from our consultant was a very nice park that could be developed. I don't know, Magistrate Tice, if I was the one that made the original comment to you, but we had a conversation about it in the recent days. And that is that whatever we do down there, we've got to make it as maintenance-free as possible. And I know that that term doesn't really exist unless we put down grass and put goats or cows, and maybe Magistrate Greenwell's got a suggestion about what we could put four-legged that would be able to take care of the grass. But you're always going to have to mow it. We know that. But if whatever we put down there needs to be of building materials that is going to take a beating. Magistrate Dye, I agree that you could put some things in there that you would want to put them closer to, is that Front Street, Magistrate Tice?
We've got front, if you look at the photo there, front where his hand in is Front Street, yes.
Closer to Front Street obviously makes the most sense in putting closer to the river. But back to the plan. So this picture that they've got here, this is nice. But one, the cost to build it, which I think everybody on court that's reviewed this would hope that the amount of money that they're suggesting it would cost to build this is probably overstated. There's a few pieces I know that Magistrate Likens said that he could design for pennies on the dollar compared to what they were talking about. And even the playground equipment. We've just bought playground equipment at, what, $75,000 a park. I think they got $200 and something thousand for the playground equipment. So we know that some of the prices are a little inflated, not discounting what they've done. But again, we've got to be able to maintain it. If you go to Westport, and I'm in the business of selling houses, and I've shown a few houses in Westport over the past couple of weeks, it's a trek to get down there. So whatever we do, we may want to add a building that's in a safe location that we could put, and I'm making this up, a zero-turn mower and a gator or something so you could maintain the property. Not so our folks wouldn't have to every week or so take a trailer down there full of equipment. But I think that the plan is nice, but it's probably more than what the court wants to take down and do. And I don't represent that area. I would defer to Magistrate Woosley on this, but I'm not so sure the citizens of Westport want to see all this there because it's going to attract more people. But going to the quick of it, I would say that we should clean up the park like Magistrate Tice has suggested. And having been to the park and waited to meet clients there a couple of weeks ago, I spent time just looking around. It would seem to me if we would clean up or refresh the basketball courts, add a picnic pavilion or two, and not a picnic pavilion. I'll call it, there's a rustic picnic pavilion, which has no electricity, that is, let's just call it 6x6s with the roof and a concrete floor. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a nicer pavilion. I commented John Black on the pavilion that he built at Springs Park. I'm not talking that extravagant with the big fans and everything, but something between primitive and the John Black pavilion that he built at Springs Park. I think one or two of those would be nice to have there. And, you know, plant some trees that would give you some natural shade in a few years because they'll grow. But this plan that we're looking at here, $6 million price tag, give or take, is just awful expensive to do. And I don't think you'll have the support of the court to do that. But I think adding some pavilions and doing some general cleanup. But to your point, our Parks Department may not have the people power to spend the time, to devote the time to the park. Every time the water comes up, you have to send somebody down there to do the work. And you brought this up, we were talking a while back, the fire department used to go down there and clean off the ramp on a regular basis. They're struggling to get people that want time to do that. I remember when I was on court, and I remember going down there, we piled up a bunch of stuff in the park and we burned it, got in trouble for it. because we weren't supposed to burn the driftwood. And I said, what are we supposed to do with it? Well, we have to haul it off to Natural Products or something at $25 a load. $50, we don't do that anymore.
Road department actually picks a lot of it up and they take it back and burn it.
But again, there's still travel costs for that, to make that happen. But, I could support putting some picnic pavilions in there and cleaning up the park, update the playground, that kind of stuff. But I can't support this plan, even the sections of the plan. If you divide it out and go through my document here that I created, there's 3 different proposals or 3 different phases. I would struggle with any one of those phases standalone.
Ashley Hawkins? Okay for me to do that, Judge?
Go right ahead. Take a break, Judge.
I'd like to first address the brush that Magistrate Tice talked about. When we had our horticulturist down there, he addressed some of that has some poison ivy in there, and he kind of marked what should come out. And we could always get him back down there to maybe do the work this time instead of just addressing what needed to stay and what needed to come out according to his expertise. But Magistrate Tice and I have talked a lot about this, and I've expressed this to him. I'd like to do portions of Phase 2, which would be the downriver grassy area, which would include a playground, which would be an updated playground, the bathroom there, and the pavilion there. And I think those are things that we could do mostly in-house as far as the playground and the pavilion, and then probably hire somebody to help with the bathroom there. But just start there without doing all of the phases or even all of Phase 2, but at least get a pavilion, playground, just sort of start the process, and it wouldn't be that expensive. And it would be in our budget for this year.
But that's what you're saying, and I think, if I pick this up okay, is as just calling the general maintenance of getting everything cleaned up in this area where all the debris is. But you're saying, okay, let's possibly do a little bit in what we're going to call Section 2, Area 2, which is away from the river. Can you get
the downriver section, the upper right-hand corner of our stuff here?
Right-hand corner of our picture. Let's see.
And in there, it shows a pavilion in the corner. It shows the new basketball court, a bathroom, and playground. But I'm just suggesting a playground for now, playground, bathroom, and pavilion, which would take care of that upper right most of the Phase 2. It would eliminate the walkways, which I feel like is a lot of the cost, and but it would get it moving forward, and it's something that we kind of need there, I feel like anyway. A new nice pavilion, bathrooms on that side, and a new nice playground, which is higher, to Magistrate Dye's point, higher elevation than where the current one is.
Any other thoughts on that? Mr. Woosley.
I have to say I was a little bit sticker shock when I saw the final plan come out. But we've spent a lot of money there already. We've got the community excited about doing something at this park. We've got the boating community excited that we're going to do something down here at this park. And I think we owe it to them a little bit more than just we're going to mow the grass and maintain what we've got down there. They've got a bathroom that is not in very good shape. But structurally it may be, but it looks terrible. They've got a small pavilion down there that really doesn't suit the needs down there. And then what green space is shaded, we park trucks in there and overflow traffic. We owe it to the folks that use this park to at least make their investment that we've already put down there worthwhile. And we've spent a couple of $100,000 that I know of just buying property and tearing down property and developing this master plan. But at the very least, I'd at least like to see, like you said, that left side or the right side, that's phase two, at least fixed up.
Manager Likens.
Thank you, Judge. I think what we've got here is how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. I think maybe we need to take this phase one, phase two, phase three, and break that down into a phase one, A, B, C, D, phase two, A, B, C, phase three, A, B, C, D. That way we could look at a pavilion, we could look at a parking lot, we could look at various parts and pieces and just break this thing down into smaller bites. Instead, I don't think anybody here at the court is I'm with Kevin Magistrate Woosley. I was sticker shocked when I saw the engineer's estimate on this. So maybe we need to take this back to committee, break it down into smaller pieces that we could manage a little at a time.
Okay. Manager Logston.
What's on the Great Lawn?
What is on the Great Lawn?
Oval.
Oracle question?
I'm just asking, what's on the Great Lawn? Are there any buildings down there?
No. Yeah, I think toward the back, up toward
there's a reason why
the street is back there.
Because it floods. So we're constantly going to have maintenance on here. I'm not opposed to anything up close to Front Street where it's on the high ground, but anything down where it's going to flood, it's going to be a yearly, maybe 2 or 3 times a year cleanup. I mean, it's just the way a river floods. I mean, it's in the floodplain. You know, we're raising houses on the creek now because people built in the floodplain. So, you know, we need to be careful about spending money when it's just going to flood. So, you know, I would go for something up on the high ground, but nothing down on the bottom. I just think it's a waste of taxpayers' money.
And I'm not challenging that statement at all, but and we can do the main as far if we choose to go forward, we can put the fixtures, pavilions, and all that will be up on the high ground up near Front Street or in that direction, and what you I think referred to as the Great Lawn, which
I was
is
trying to find some pictures that I took back in 2016. I can't find them, but I mean, the river was up almost to Front Street.
But
everything would flood through there.
And you're going to get some of that periodically. But even today, when I was down there, because of the heavy rains we just had this week, the river's muddy. It's not clear like or more clear than like it usually is. And when I went down there, it was quite a bit higher. And that's all of what's coming downstream of all the rain, etc. So in my thoughts, as far
like Lake Cumberland and some of these lakes that are controlled by a dam,
yeah,
they're always going to be looking nice. They're not flooded because the water controls that dam. The water coming through there. There is nothing to stop the water here, and it's just constantly going to flood. You're constantly going to have driftwood all over the park. It's going to have to be cleaned up.
And that's part of what I was thinking. I'm going back, Chris, I'm going back where you didn't want me to go. But if we contracted this out just to whatever, when Gary saw something that needs to be taken care of from the parking lot down to the river, our maintenance people, I think, can handle everything from the parking lot up ground, okay? But when you go down to that, if Gary's over there and we've made, let's say we go in and clean it now and get it to where it really looks nice now, and in another month or two, it's all filled up with driftwood again, then that to me is money that's going to be continual maintenance, that when that happens again, you've got to call in whatever contractor you've got, have him pull out those big logs, and those are things that our people just can't handle. You just got to pull them out and get them up on the bank and then cut them up. And to me, that would be a continual maintenance for the river, so we keep it looking the right way. Now, and that's kind of where I was. Now, after you get that to a point, then we can rediscuss it in court, and we can all, those of us that are on the committee and anybody else wants to have input, we can try to figure out how you take care of the riverbank from where it was 3 weeks ago and to where it is today. When you walk up about 50 foot. But what you do is you're moving up somewhere between 6 to 10 foot vertical. So some of those stuff we need to figure out. My thoughts are is if we get it cleaned now, then we address it. How do we go forward every time we have an event? And how do we get that riverfront looking the best we can? And it will change, and as pretty as the pictures are that we've got, those pictures will never be reality because we've got a variable water. Like we said, we're not controlled by a dam, and it keeps that just the way it is.
Magistrate Tice,
Just trying to get some thoughts. Go ahead.
but I don't know who might do the cleanup work that you're talking about, but we've got just about every nice piece of equipment known to man to do this work. I don't know why we can't do it. The problem is that it's going to be an ongoing project. I mean, it's not. You're going to have the same problem may have in a couple of months, but you're definitely going to have it springtime of next year again. It's going to be an ongoing issue.
And I agree totally with that. But when you talk about we've got all of the equipment, then are we getting everything done that we want done right now? And do we have the manpower where if you hired a subcontractor to go in down there and he takes all his forces in for a day or two and pulls out what we need to keep that looking the way that we want it to look, presentable?
Maybe we're talking about two different things, but the cleanup work and that, we have the people that can do that. It's a matter of getting the time. Maybe we don't have enough, but when you bring a contractor in like you're talking about, I don't know what that contractor would be. I guess is, a lawn mowing service isn't going to have, you're going to need something with a mini excavator and a thumb to pick up some of those pieces of driftwood and that, and to clean some of that, you're going to need a mini excavator. We've got all that equipment. I mean, Gary doesn't, but the county owns it. Go through the road department.
Question also, Judge.
And then,
Magistrate Logston.
I'm not an engineer. I don't know how this works, but the driftwood that's up against the far end of the park, going towards Louisville.
Yes, sir.
It's built like a wall of all the driftwood out there. You remove that, is all the driftwood going to go into the subdivision then? Or is that wall that's collected all that material keeping that stuff or the driftwood from going into the subdivision?
It's keeping all of that driftwood from going into Westport Village's waterfront. And I don't know who built the wall, but it's a good deal for them.
I'm just saying that wall might be there for a reason.
And that may be true. So and let's say that is the reason it's there, it's still creating a problem on our park property. So we need to be able to get, and I'm not sure that we have the right to tear that wall out.
Major Hawkins.
Louisville Metro has a landscape department, and maybe that's something that we would like to consider in Oldham County because it would address what you're talking about at Westport Park about picking up the debris, and then there's probably plenty of other things that would keep a landscape department busy the rest of the year. Just a thought.
Right. I think that might be a good thought, actually.
I didn't hear all of that. Say it one more time.
Said that one of our neighboring counties has a landscape department that apparently is responsible for landscaping, mowing, and upkeeping. We have a number of people in different departments devoted to some of this on a piecemeal basis. Maybe if we had one department that was responsible for maintaining all outside park property, it might be something that would be worthwhile looking.
As a magistrate, I wouldn't have any problem with that. I'm just saying right now, the situation as it was this morning, I would spend some money out of his budget for this fiscal year, and it takes several $1,000s to go in there and get that cleaned up. And then at that point, as we go through the fall and into the winter, we'll be able to tell what's new and what's not new, and how much drain it takes on our resources to handle it ourselves, or do we need to start looking at by next spring, have somebody else on board to do that? So I'm okay with anything.
Manager Woosley.
Do an RFP for companies to give us bids on what it would cost to clean it up, and then send the plan back to the park committee after it gets cleaned up to then see what we look like going forward.
I guess we could. I mean, if there's somebody out there that does that type of work. I mean, it might be a tree company, Bob Ray Company, or something like that. Some people might have some big tree, equipment that that they get into branches with that we don't have. But I wanted to ask, I think the area you're referring to, I think needs more than brush clean out. If it's the same one I'm thinking of, it's the gutter, the drainage there is very irregular. Something strange about it. Needs attention over in that corner. That doesn't look.
You completely, Judge, but I'm thinking we got to get it all cut down so we can see exactly what the issue is on the drainage and where we are. But we haven't had that for years.
Right along the road there's a culvert in there or something, some kind of pothole in it. I haven't said much about this because I wanted to listen to what everybody had to say, and I've been a promoter of trying to recognize this location as one of the most beautiful in our county. It's certainly, there's nature everywhere, but this is nature. I don't know how many times we picked up. Gary, how many times have we had flooding events this year that have caused us to, have to stop, close the park, or put a lot of effort into cleanup?
Park, recently, I don't know, I know of at least one that we've closed the park down and was flooded, but I know road department and my guys have been down there several times to clean up along the water's edge, and they have cleaned it. They've cleaned it
sent
completely
people
up,
out, and I think road department's cleaned up water's edge. And I've been a promoter here for, it seems like forever, trying to take houses down there. We have actually made big improvements in that park from what it was 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know how many, maybe 6 buildings that we purchased and taken down there, I believe. I can certainly support some of the ideas I've heard here today. I think the court's reluctant to wade in and spend a lot of money on this. Reflecting what Magistrate Lycan said about eating the elephant, the phrase I've always heard is a steak is good a bite at a time, but if you try to eat the whole thing at once, you're going to choke. And I think we're looking at the whole thing at once here. I could back off from that and just say I would like to see the entrance parking area widened where cars come in, have more area to park there. Right now we're parking on the grass, and the parking area down by the river is a hit and miss situation. People invent their own places to park sometimes. Some are in order, some are just pulled in there. I'd like to see the entrance area widened. I would like to see a nice pavilion there. Perhaps not as detailed as the Springs Park Pavilion, but something nice where you'd want to take your family and have a family reunion or something like that. We need a better restroom facility for sure. It's just not inviting or pleasant. You're forced to use it because you have to. I think we could find, a couple of years ago, I looked and talked to somebody that had a nice restroom they could bring in there. It was sort of like a restroom you'd have at a PGA tournament or something, maybe smaller than that, but it came in, it was put in, and it was there for the summer or something, and then it was maybe pulled out or put in storage during the winter, and it was clean. There isn't any one of our wives that wants to go into a dirty restroom. Men might tolerate it, but the women are really turned off by it. And ours are really hard to maintain. People are disrespectful. Why? Who knows? But to have something nice and clean. So I'd like to see a widened entrance area, at least the pavilion and the high upper corner there. I guess that's section 2. I believe that is the part that floods the least. And nice some restroom area around there, and just to kind of get the ball off the ground. I really am sorry that we get into these projects where we're going to look at something, going to do something, and we get up to the edge and we back away. I don't want us to get a reputation for being people that you consultants can deal with, but nothing ever happens. We've got our project down at Westport Park, our addition to the community center. I was hoping that would add more to our larger room with a patio area out there. We got that put on the shelf in favor of just a room addition on one side. If you want to be big league, you have to spend bigger money. And I feel that our community could be and should be a big league community. We have the wherewithal to do it. We have the people who enjoy good things, and it's embarrassing when you come to visit another smaller community in the state and you see that they put in more for something than we did. I'm not necessarily saying this is the thing. Okay, let's just take a piece of it. Let a future court decide if it wants to add another piece based on usage or public feedback. But let's step up and do something that, hey, we're proud to open this, and it's a nice pavilion, it's a nice restroom. I mean, we got a better parking area. I could do away with all these sidewalks around. I'm not too much in favor of just converting the existing garage into the restroom, but it could be at least a second restroom if we need to. But let's do something our community would be. If you had a visitor come from somewhere else, someplace you'd like to take somebody and say, I'm proud of what's in the community where I live. So.
Suggest we move forward with that today.
Well, I'm stumped a little bit in the sense that I do support Magistrate Tice's idea of going in there and cleaning out the mess over there on that one side of the park. That bothers me every time I drive through there, and frankly, I've wondered too why is it still there? I mean, I guess because I've never pushed it in the past, or didn't the park's leadership didn't had too many other things to do. We do run pretty much a skeleton crew. We're not overstaffed in any one of our departments, but and I do think we need to put in things that we can maintain. But I'm not sure that you're going to have some maintenance on everything. You can't do anything without having some maintenance to it.
Let me ask this, with follow-up on that question. You're okay with this, Judge, is we'll have a Parks Committee meeting in 2 weeks. And let's do some talking about this. I'll talk with Gary, and we'll talk as a committee. And I'll get with you sometime before 2 weeks, and we'll talk about a couple of thoughts I had about the maintenance and do that, and then we'll talk about some new area, a new pavilion, or get some better equipment. Gary can start work on that. If everything's okay with you, we can get started on that in a couple of weeks. And let's see if we can't start making a movement to make it look. We won't do anything major, but I don't want to take this study. It wasn't that much as far as studies go, but I don't want to take it and put it on the shelf. But I sure don't want to spend $6 million. So I think if we're fortunate to all be here for the next 4 years, that in 4 years we can build on top of each thing so it's not crippling to